graphic profile, what I want to do now is use my structure contours to draw on the geology. We want to start with the youngest feature on our map. So what is that youngest feature on this map? Well, I need to think a bit about the cross-cutting relationships now. So we know we've got the unconformity, which usually is going to be the youngest thing on the map. But in this case, we've got the unconformity is cut by fault 2. So we know that fault 2 is the youngest thing on the map. Then we have the unconformity, which sits on top of fault 1. So our relative timing is fault 2 is the youngest, then the unconformity, then fault 1. So that is what we're going to do for our cross section. We're going to draw fault 2 first, then the unconformity, then fault 1, and then we can deal with the units underneath the unconformity. So I'm going to bring back my spare piece of paper again. I'm going to mark on my extremes of x and y, just like I did before. This time I'm going to mark on here fault 2. That's the first thing I'm going to do because that is the first thing that we want to put on our cross section. So I've just put F2 next to that. So now all I need to do is line up my piece of paper with my cross section, and then at exactly that point that I've just marked, fault 2, I'm going to put a little dash at the surface because I know that's where fault 2 comes out at the surface, just here. Now, as we discussed this earlier, as this is a completely straight line, I know that my fault is vertical because it's cutting across all the topographic contours. So I'm going to draw it on my cross section as a vertical line. It's going to be a solid line when we're below the surface, and it's going to be a dashed line above the surface. And that's I'm going to label that F2 as a fault. The next thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to mark on my unconformity on my cross section. How am I going to do that? Well, we're going to use these 3 structure contours that we drew for the unconformity. So this one first, 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to put my piece of paper across now. I'm going to mark on these 3 structure contours. I'm going to put the labels on too. So this one, unconformity was at 900. This one, unconformity was at 800 meters. This one here, now remember we've got an offset on that fault. So we had the unconformity at 700 meters, this side of the fault, and then we also had 800 meters for the east side of the fault. So I'm going to just put 2 labels there. Now remember we had GH was at 1000 meters. So this is the reason that we did the labels, so we could put this on our cross section and we could show in 2D what was underneath the surface. Oh, oops. Okay, so now I've done my 3 structure contours for my unconformity. I'm going to put this onto my cross section exactly the same as how I did the topography. So this first one, I'm going to put a dot at 900 meters. So that's going to be halfway, so just there. So at that point at 900 meters. Then I'm going to put a point here at 800 meters. And then a point at my 3rd structure contour at 700 meters. Now I'm actually going to do 2 points here because I also have an offset, so I'm also going to have a point at 800 meters, but for the west side, sorry, for the east side of the fault. So let's just join together those first 3 dots. So I had one at my 900 meter unconformity dot, my 800 meter unconformity dot, and my 700 meter unconformity dot. So I'm going to join those up, and again I'm going to use a straight line, a solid line when I'm below the surface, and a dashed line when I'm above the surface. Okay. And I'm going to stop at the fault. Now we've got a 100 metre offset on that fault. So I'm just going to slide my ruler up to my second dot, which is 100 metres away, and I'm going to use that to draw a line at the same orientation to the east side of my fault, because we've got this 100 metre offset on our fault.